their business properly, but like a higher level of structuring their business. So this is going to prepare y'all for y'all funding companies and just business in general. All right. For this part, this is going to build y'all's foundation so well that you're going to know how to structure every LLC you have and prepare yourself for funding and prepare yourself for business. Right. And that's like, she's basically like a business attorney, right? So she's basically going to teach you guys how to be able to start and build, protect all your assets on a higher level. So everybody know about like just LLC or a business phone number or something like that, business address, but like on another scale of how to structure your LLC properly and like the next level of how we should be setting up our businesses when we are running these businesses. How do we position them? How do we set them up? How do we do this, do that, and the third? And this could be able to really set you up for success, you know, as we build these businesses. And tomorrow I'm gonna get in and we're gonna talk about how to build out your funding company on top of what you teach us today. All right. So without further ado, is Joy ready for us, team? Is Joy ready for us? Is Coach Joy ready for us? All right. So without further ado, everybody drop the fire emojis for Coach Joy. She's gonna come up and give us some game. We gladly appreciate her time to come in here and be able to bless y'all with her information. As a 7-figure earner, we are very busy. So when we have to come attend to these calls and things like this, we got to pause our own business, our own life to come in and be able to help you guys. So if we could bring up Joy, we are ready for her. We appreciate her coming in. See the fire emoji dropping. And also let's record that Jessica gets the $100 cash app. And let's get busy. Joy, you ready for us? Let me see if she in here yet. We in here yet? Okay. All right, Joy, you got the flow. I appreciate you. I thank you. You got it. You should be a co-host as well.
I can't unmute.
Yep, I can't hear you right now. Let me see.
Okay.
Yep.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, good evening. How's everyone doing tonight? So I'm from Florida. Well, I'm not from Florida, but I live in Florida. So I had to catch a flight because I said I do not want to get stuck in Florida with no power, and I'm supposed to be doing a challenge tonight. So apparently tonight was meant to be, so let's get into it. Let me share my screen. Hold on. Oh, I know you lied. Bam. So before I share my screen, because I'm on my laptop and I'm not the best tech person, let me first break down why we need to have an LLC for anyone who's in the room who doesn't have an LLC. I want to break down why we need to have it and why we need to have multiple LLCs, and then I'm going to break down how we should structure everything so that our assets are protected, and if we're in a high risk industry, how to structure our business to still get funding. So my name is Joy. I'm your business bestie. I have been a business attorney since 2004 and a serial entrepreneur since 2005. And I am going to show you how we're going to structure our business. So when we first are forming our business, we're not forming it because our LLC is making money. We're not forming it because, we have a lot going on. We're forming it to protect ourselves. So you may have a house. You may have a car. You may have money in the bank. When you are out here in these business streets, and it's grimy out here in these business streets, and we don't have an LLC or a corporation, maybe we're a sole proprietor, we're a DBA, you are out here doing business, exposing your personal assets. We don't want that. So let's just say I do lashes. I put too much glue on the girl's eyes. She becomes blind. She sues me. Now she can touch my house, my car, the money in the bank, and we don't want that, okay? So the second you're thinking about doing a business, we're going to form an LLC. It's going to separate you from your business. So same scenario, put too much glue on the girl's eyes. She sued me. She can only get what the Lash LLC has. She can't touch my personal assets, okay? For those of you guys who may have multiple businesses, we don't want to have one LLC and then run a whole bunch of DBAs in one LLC. So In fact, put in the chat what kind of companies or businesses do y'all have, so I can kind of give a realistic explanation, realistic examples. Type in the chat what kind of businesses y'all have. Okay, rental car. I used to have a rental car company. So I have a rental car, H-Town Lux. My car rental business is paying all of my bills, paying my personal bills, paying my business bills. It's providing for everything. I want to trucking. I want to start a transportation company, but I'm gonna wait until it makes money. I'm gonna just get a DBA and just run it underneath my car rental company. Well, here's the problem. If in my trucking company, my truck driver, he fell asleep, he done crashed and killed someone, I get sued for $2 million. I only have $1 million, so I'm now on the hook for $1 million, or my LLC is now on the hook for $1 million because you had a DBA under one LLC. That trucking claim or that trucking client can now touch my car rental money and car rental assets and my trucking money and my trucking assets. We don't want that, okay? What we want to do is you want to make sure every business has its own entity, its own LLC, its own corporation. So if this is car rental and this is trucking, if the trucking had a lawsuit, yes, I will lose whatever this LLC had, but my car rental can still keep going. So I still have the cash flow from that business. I'm still being able to pay my rent, pay my bills, keep my kids in private school, keep my kids in ballet, okay? Because this is what happens. We sometimes want to cheat the system. We sometimes want a shortcut. We sometimes say, well, I ain't got to do all that, right? I ain't got to do all that. So when you combine things, and then something happens, because in business, something will happen. You will make a mistake. Your employee will make a mistake. You thought the contract read 1, 2, 3. I thought it read 3, 2, 1. Now we're in a lawsuit. Something will happen in business. When it does, you don't want to get hit with that bad news of saying, I'm about to lose everything. I'm about to lose my business. I'm about to lose the ass. I'm about to lose the cash flow of what was paying me. Because when that happens, the monkeys travel with me. That's when the monkey is going to be around your neck, okay? The monkey represents stress. So when I lose the cash flow of my car rental business, now I can't pay these employees. I've been in business for over 20 years. I've never met an employee. If that paycheck ain't there, it's going to still keep on working. Now you can't afford to pay your personal bills. So now we're having to downsize from our dream home. Now you're having to tell that wife she got to turn in that luxury car. Now your daughter has to get out of dance. Your son got to get out of baseball. Now we're not having sex. Now we're in divorce court and bankruptcy court, all because you didn't want to spend $500 and get that separate LLC. Okay, so I'm going to explain to you not only what to do, but why to do it. So when you think about, do I got to do all this? You're going to know, I do not want the monkeys around my neck. Okay. So let me see if I can share my screen. Bam. Can I share my screen and still be on Zoom? Let's see. Can y'all still see me or no? Bam. Okay. Because I can't see y'all. Okay. So let's get into it. Like I said earlier, it is grimy out here in these business streets. So we want to make sure that everything that we do, that we're doing it correctly. My name is Joy. I have owned several businesses. These are a few of them. And so I'm going to go through everything that I've learned from law school and being in business as to how we don't want to make up I want to teach y'all what mistakes not to make that I done made in all of my businesses. Okay, so basic business structure.
Hey Joy, sorry, we can't see your screen right now.
You cannot see my screen?
Can you share again, please?
Hold on. Let me go back to Zoom. Share screen. Can you see my screen now?
No, we still can't see it, Joy. It's just showing your face. It ain't showing like your screen, what you're trying to show.
Bam, let's try it this way.
There you go. It's starting to share now. Now we can see it. Yep. Business streets. Okay, we can see it now.
Okay. So I'm good?
Yep, we can see now.
Awesome. Okay. There's me again. Hey, y'all. Okay, so to protect our assets, you want to have a properly structured business. A properly structured business is going to be your LLC. It's going to be a business bank account. It's going to be your EIN. It's going to be your operating agreement. Once we form our LLC, we then have to run it like Walmart. If we don't have these things, then we're not going to have the asset protection that an LLC provides. So what do we need? Number one, you can have an LLC or a corporation, a C-Corp. Those are going to be the two entities that you can form. The LLC has less corporate formalities, meaning you don't have to have annual minutes. You don't have to have meetings every year. You don't have to appoint a board of directors. So I prefer the LLC, but LLC corporation is your choice. In this presentation, I will just be saying LLC, but the two can be synonymous. So when you're forming your LLC, number one, you want to make sure, of course, that you don't have your personal address on there. You want to have a business address or a virtual address. But more importantly, you want to make sure that the address for your registered agent is a good address. If you've already formed your LLC, every year you want to check your articles of organization or your certificate of formation. That's going to be the LLC document. You want to make sure that the address for the registered agent is a good address. You may have hired a company when you first formed your LLC to be your agent, but maybe you stopped paying them, so now they're no longer your agent. Maybe the address was your address, but you've moved. Or maybe the address was a business address, but then you've moved from that business address. This is going to be the most important address on your corporate documents, because this is where you're telling people, if you want to contact my business, you want to contact me here. If the state is trying to contact you for any kind of reason, hey, you haven't filed your report, hey, we need this, they are mailing the correspondence to this address. If someone is trying to sue you, they are sending that lawsuit to that address. If it's an old address, you're not going to know that you're being sued, and you're going to lose the lawsuit by a default judgment. Well, you're going to say, well, I do good business, so I'm not going to get sued. That's not the case. My first screen was, it's grimy out here in these business streets. I have a client. She teaches people how to start beauty supplies. It's a $10,000 one-on-one program. And she had a customer, did the whole program, got the systems, got the vendors, got everything. When it was time for her client to then now go and get her beauty supply space, the client didn't have any money. So she couldn't get the space. So she said, well, since I can't do the business, I want a refund on the class that you done gave me for the past 90 days. Well, that's not how you do business. It's grimy out here in these business streets. So she sued my client, but here's the problem. My client moved from the address that was listed as her registered agent, and she no longer was there. So when they left the lawsuit at that address, because depending on the state, the process server will come X amount of times. If you're not there, they're going to just leave that lawsuit at that address. If you're not there and you can't respond, you're going to lose the lawsuit based on a default judgment, meaning I didn't respond, so I lost. So she lost the lawsuit, not because she did anything wrong, because she never knew about it. So when y'all get off this webinar tonight and you already have your LLC or corporation, pull those corporate documents to make sure that your registered agent's address is correct. If it's not, you want to file an amendment with your Secretary of State to update the address. Once you have formed your LLC, you want to then have a business bank account. We cannot be cash apping our business funds to our personal account, and then you don't want to be paying personal bills out that business bank account. You have to run your business like it's Walmart, okay? So that means following the corporate formalities. So you want to have a business bank account. You want to keep only business funds and business expenses in that business bank account. If you need to use the money, then you just transfer it from the business account to your personal account. But the most important thing is that that business bank account represents the income or the true income of the business. So for my cash heavy businesses, if we do nails, if we do massages, we cut hair, you want to make sure that when you receive $1,000 for that day's work, don't go to Walmart, don't go to the mall, don't go buy food with that money. Make sure it hits the business bank account and then move it over, because eventually you're going to want to go get a line of credit. You're going to want to go get a loan. You're going to want to finance a car. They're going to pull your last 90 days of business bank statements. If it's not the income that's needed to qualify, you're not going to get approved. The number one reason why small businesses don't get approved for funding is they can't prove the income that they're making. They're really making it, but it's over in Cash App over here and Venmo over here, and they match us back at home. It needs to hit the business bank account. For cash flow purposes, I always say it's great to have 4 business bank accounts. The first one's going to be your income account. All your income will go on this account, all your credit card deposits, all your cash deposits. No check card, no checks. Your second account will be your income or your expense account. You're going to pay all of your bills out of this account. You'll just transfer the funds from the income account to the expense account with either daily, weekly, monthly, depending on your cash flow, to pay your bills. All of these accounts will be at the same bank to make the transfers easy. Your third account will be your payroll account. Your employees will play with you, okay? They will alter the amount of a check. They will go make up fake checks. I've had all this happen to me. What we don't want is for Keisha to take her $1,000 check and change it to $10,000, and now your main account is negative. Why? When it's time to pay your rent, the landlord don't care what you got going on. When it's time to pay your vendors, they don't want to hear your sad story. We all got our own problems. So your main objective in business is to protect the cash flow of that business, and that's going to be your income account. Your fourth account will be your tax/savings account. So when you have a heavy cash month, you want to put some money aside for, number one, the IRS. Number two, in case you need some money on your slower month, you can have something to pull from. Okay. Now these 4 accounts will be at the same bank. But another reason why it's great to have 4 separate bank accounts, or at least 2 to 3. If you don't have employees, it can just be 3. Is you're eventually going to want to go and get funding. When you go and get funding, they're going to ask you for your bank statements. The lender's job is to weed out who they feel is not going to pay the loan. You don't want to be judged based on your lifestyle or your spending habits and get denied. Well, what do you mean? Let's just say you don't cook, right? And you do a lot of door dashing. Well, if there's a whole lot of door dashing coming out of that business bank account, they're going to judge you. Maybe you have a fun, free life and you take your clients out to the strip club or to the hookah bar. All that's going to be on your bank statement. We don't want to be judged by the underwriter. So what you want to do is, if you have these separate bank statements and your income account only has credit card deposits, only has cash deposits, and then it has wires going to other accounts, it's nice and clean. There's no judgment right there. And that's the bank statements we're going to use to go and get funding. Last but not least, we're not commingling. We're not paying for hair and nails and haircuts out that business account. We're not paying our mortgage out that account. Although you own the LLC, don't forget we're separate. We're 2 separate people. So you don't want to commingle those funds. Third, we want to have an operating agreement. If you have an LLC, you need to have an operating agreement. If you have a corporation, you want to have bylaws. This is going to be the contract that governs how your entity is ran. If you don't have this, then you're going to have to use the state's default rules, which may not benefit you. And once you are sued, the first thing opposing counsel is going to subpoena is your operating agreement or your bylaws. So it's a corporate formality that you just need to have. Next, you want to make sure that you're filing your annual report. every state or 99% of the states require for you to file some kind of report saying, hey, I am still using my LLC, so that they keep your name reserved with that state and they keep your LLC active. Even if your LLC has made no money, you didn't do anything with it, if you still want it to be an active entity, then you have to file this report. If you don't file this report, it's like you don't have an LLC. So yes, you spent the money in, you formed your LLC, but you forgot to file your report. So they're going to negate or disregard your LLC. If a lawsuit were to happen while your LLC was inactive, they can now touch your personal assets. So it kind of defeats the purpose of even forming your LLC in the beginning. That's my son, excuse him. Now there's something called a BOI report, or a beneficiary ownership information report. That's now due if you have formed your LLC in 2023 or earlier. It's going to be due on January 1st of 2025. If you formed your LLC in 2024, this report is due 90 days after your LLC is formed. You're telling the federal government that, hey, I have an ownership interest in this entity. Now, depending on your state or your industry, there may be certain licenses, permits, and or insurance required. You want to make sure that you have those licenses, insurance, and permits. Don't play with these requirements. If the requirement is $1 million insurance policy, don't try to nickel and dime and do $500,000, because once again, if a lawsuit were to happen, if I have my transportation company, I'm supposed to carry $1 million policy, but because things were tight, I had a $500,000 policy, and my driver fell asleep and crashed and killed somebody. And they, on the date of that accident, if I didn't have the proper insurance, they're going to negate my LLC, and now they're coming after my house, my car, my money in the bank. And then I already did my example about every business needs to have its separate LLC. We're not running multiple LLCs we're not running multiple businesses out of one LLC. So S-Corps. An S-Corp is not a business entity, meaning we don't form an S-Corp. You can form either an LLC or a corporation or a C-Corp. The LLC is going to pay a 15.4%, I believe, self-employment tax, and a C-Corp is taxed twice. It's taxed when it earns the income, and then it's taxed when it pays the business owner. For that reason, the IRS says, hey, if you want a better tax structure, you can have your LLC or your corporation be taxed as an S-Corp. So we form the business at the state level. We pay our taxes at the federal level. Okay, it's two different levels. So the federal government said, you can say, hey IRS, I'm an LLC, but tax me like an S-Corp. Hey IRS, I'm a C-Corp, but tax me like an S-Corp. An S-Corp doesn't have the double taxation, and it doesn't have the self-employment tax. However, if you are an S-Corp, number one, the owner has to be on payroll. So depending on what your cash flow is for your business, you may or may not be able to afford to pay yourself and pay payroll taxes, depending on the cash flow of your business. And then the second thing is now the S-Corp is going to file a separate business tax return. So on average, a business tax return will run you $750 to $2,000, depending on how complex the return is. So normally the tax benefits outweigh the cost of being an S-Corp when you're at that about $60,000 in profit range. So once your business, after you pay your business bills, is making $60,000 a year, you want to know, I want to have my CPA or my accountant change my tax election to be an S-Corp. Don't be like me and be so up in your business you forget that you're making money, then you're going to be hit with a big 6-figure tax bill. Bam, that's our S-Corps. Okay, so foreign entities. Let me talk about anonymous LLCs first. Is that next? Bam. Some of you guys may be saying, well, I don't want people in my business, or you may have a dispute that is currently going on. If let's just say for my trucking company, let's just say I was leasing whatever is the I forget the name. Let's just say I'm leasing a truck. I'm leasing a truck with Penske. It keeps breaking down. They're taking too long to fix it. So I'm like, hey, I want out this lease. So you try to execute your termination clause. They're saying that it reads one way. You think it reads another way. Now you and Penske going back and forth, right? You already know it's about to be a lawsuit. As we're going back and forth with Penske, you're now wanting to start a funding company, right? But you may not want Penske knowing that you're starting a whole nother business because you don't want them over here in your business, okay? So you may want to form an anonymous LLC. An anonymous LLC is where when I go to the Secretary of State's website, I can't see who owns it, okay? I don't know who owns it. Now, the federal government will know who owns it because this BOI report, that's only confidential. Only the federal government will see the report. But the average person won't be able to see it. Now, whoever you got checking for you, no matter if they're good, they'll be able to, peel back some layers and find you eventually if they're really good. But this will put layers between you and Penske finding out all what you got going on. So an anonymous LLC is basically an LLC that the average person can't see who owns the LLC. There are 4 states that allow an anonymous LLC: Delaware, Wyoming, New Mexico, and Nevada. Now, forming your LLC in one of those states is fine, but if you're running your LLC in your home state, the state that you live in, the state where you vote, the state where you have car registrations, if the home state test that the IRS is going to do is, where can I put my hands on the CEO or an executive in that company? So, well, I have an online business. Great. Where's the CEO? Wherever that state is, that's considered your home state. If you don't have a physical presence anywhere else, and a virtual address is not a physical presence. So if I am running a catering, no, I'm doing online. If I'm running an e-com business out in Houston has no sales tax. If I'm running an e-com business out of California, but I want to file a Wyoming LLC, and a Wyoming LLC doesn't have a state tax, I can't form an LLC in a state that doesn't have a state tax and think I get those tax advantages because I pay taxes wherever I am deemed to be my home state. So there's no need to form an anonymous LLC to change your taxes because taxes are paid where the income is earned. If I play for the Houston Texans and I go play the New York Giants in New York, although Texas has no state tax, I'll be paying a New York state tax on my paycheck. Taxes are paid where the income is earned. So if I have an e-com business, but I work from home and I live in California, I'll be paying California taxes, although I have an LLC in a different state. So an anonymous LLC is an LLC where the person cannot see who owns it. If you want to go through the formalities and you want an anonymous LLC, that's fine. You're then going to have to register that anonymous LLC in your in your current state as a foreign LLC. Bam. A foreign LLC is an LLC that's formed in a different state. So if I formed a Wyoming LLC, and I don't want anyone knowing what I have going on, but I am now doing business in California, I would then take my Wyoming corporate documents, bring them to California, file a foreign LLC in California, say, hey, California, I have a Wyoming LLC. I'm going to do business now in California. If you have a Wyoming LLC and you are in California and you're doing business in California without a foreign LLC and something happens, they're going to negate that LLC because you did not tell California, hey, I got this LLC. Now, if there are 2 owners of the business and one lives in California and one lives in Texas, well, now you can cherry pick because you have two corporate heads and you can pick, well, which state is the best. And Texas will be the best because it doesn't have a state tax. Now, if you're saying, well, does that mean that every state that I go to, every location I got to have a foreign LLC? No. But wherever is your home state, wherever is your corporate headquarters, if your LLC doesn't match your corporate headquarters, that LLC needs to be a foreign LLC. Well, is there another reason why I need to have a foreign LLC? Well, you may want to go ahead and open up yourself to some banks in different states. So if I am living in California and I have a California LLC, but I may have heard that a small little bank and a small little credit union in Iowa is giving away a loan, I may want to go do some banking in Iowa and be able to get some funding out of Iowa. So I will take my California LLC, register as a foreign LLC in Iowa, and then now I can afford my California LLC all of the Iowa banking benefits. Or let's just say I have my California LLC, but I moved to New York. I've had my LLC for the past 10 years. I'm now in New York, doing business in New York. I don't want to form a new LLC in New York and lose 10 years of corporate age. So if you move states, I can take my California LLC, register as a foreign LLC in New York. That way I can keep my corporate age of those 10 years and legally do business in New York. So those would be the 3 different reasons as to why you would form a foreign LLC. Okay, so let me go back. If y'all see on this picture, this is going to kind of have a lot of the information as to, what's on the LLC. An anonymous LLC is only going to have, okay. This would be an example of what articles of organization or the LLC documents look in regular states. It has the owner's name. I have it blacked out, but the owner's name and address. Where an anonymous LLC is just going to have the name of the business. It's going to have the registered agent's name and address, and then that's it. So when someone looks you up on the Secretary of State's website, they don't know who owns it. So here's an example of a Wyoming LLC. That's the corporate name, the registered agent, the company's address, and that's it. So that's all a person will get from looking your business up. Trust. Now, everyone's like, I need my business to be in a trust, and the trust going to protect my assets. And I know all them diagrams look good, right? But you need to understand there are 2 types of trust. So a trust is a legal entity like an LLC. You're going to go to an estate planning attorney in the state that you live in, and they will draft a trust for you. A trust, if it owns any kind of assets that earn income, like if you did put your business in a trust, then the trust would then file a tax return. Okay, you can name a trust whatever you want, a living trust, a land trust, this trust, but it's just a trust. There's 2 types. There's going to be a living trust. There's going to be a revocable trust and an irrevocable trust. Now, a living or a revocable trust is where I can touch the asset. I could put the house in the trust, and then I can take the house out the trust. I could put the house in the trust, and I can encumber, I can, put a debt on the house. I can touch the asset. That's what a revocable trust is. The benefits of a revocable trust is that upon your death, your assets will directly go to your heirs or to your descendants or to your beneficiaries. Okay, so if grandma has a house and she dies, y'all, all 3 siblings can cuss and fuss and fight over the house within a week and be able to get the house. If grandma has a will and dies, now the will has to go through something called probate court. Okay, so you have to hire an attorney, an estate planning attorney. They're going to probate the will. It's going to have attorney's fees. It's going to have court costs. You're going to be on the court docket, and you're going to have to wait however long it is until the probate court says yes, grandma's will is valid. Here you can have the assets. Now, if any of the siblings is cussing and fussing or fighting or contesting the will, that's going to draw it out. Here's the problem with a will. If there's a mortgage on that property, who's paying the mortgage? So if grandma was getting her SSI or she had some retirement in her bank account, but she didn't name any beneficiaries on her bank account, and then she had a will, but now the will has to go through probate court, it may be 6 months to a year before that will's probated. If the siblings or the heirs don't have enough money to pay the mortgage and no one was a beneficiary on that bank account, no one can touch those funds. All that has to go through probate court. So that means a year of someone having to pay the mortgage on grandma's house, or grandma's going to lose the house. So the big misconception is that a will protects you. A will not a lot of times drains the assets, especially if the heirs or the descendants can't afford to keep up with the assets. Or maybe grandma was behind on property tax and nobody knew about it. Now you hit with this big tax bill. If y'all can't touch grandma's money and y'all don't have the money to pay it, you're now going to lose the asset. Okay? So a trust is great because it gives your beneficiaries the assets instantly. Now, as long as you can touch the asset, as long as you can play with the church's money, you don't have any asset protection. So yes, you can pass property on or assets on via a trust with no probate costs, no probate fees. Your beneficiaries get everything, but it doesn't protect the assets. So if I put my home in a trust and I go and kill someone in a car accident, they can go seize my house for that judgment, because a trust, a revocable trust, gives you no asset protection. That's an example of a revocable trust. Now, the bulletproof trust is going to be the irrevocable trust. Once you put an asset in this bad boy, it's good to go. Can't nobody touch it. Another benefit of putting property in an irrevocable trust is that your kids can't do anything with it. So, let's just say for anyone who has a lot of real estate, you may be passing on real estate to your kids. Depending on how your kids are, how old their kids are, how old your kids are, if they had to struggle, if they had the good life, they may say, ooh, mom and dad are dead. Let's go sell off their entire portfolio and let's go get Lambos and turn up. Okay, so an irrevocable trust, number one, will make sure you can put in there that this kid can't do anything with the property until this age. So you may want to say, hey, until the kid's 40, he cannot sell this property. So it's kind of like being able to still regulate what happens although you're in the ground. Another benefit is going to be whatever are the assets that are passed to one of your kids or to one of your heirs in an irrevocable trust, it never becomes community property, okay? So let's just say you have a nice big real estate portfolio and your son inherits it and he marries a gold digger. She got her eye on the prize, right? And that marriage lasts a good 2 years, and then she divorces him and she thinks, I'm about to get half of this. Boop, boop. No, you're not, because that property or those assets remain separate. They never became community assets. So that's another way of keeping property in your direct bloodline and them not losing it upon divorce. Once again, if you get hit with a lawsuit, the asset in here is bulletproof. They cannot touch it. Well, then why doesn't everyone have an irrevocable trust? Because once you put the property in the trust, your hands have to come off of it. You can't touch it. You can't sell it. You can't move it. You no longer have control of the asset. So if you put your business in an irrevocable trust, if you put your business in an irrevocable trust, you can't touch it. You can't move it. You can't do anything with it. So asset protection, asset things are all based on what tool do you want to use in your toolbox? What's best for what you have going on? So that's the downside of an irrevocable trust. Holding companies. Now, once you start acquiring assets, we don't want to do business with an entity that owns an asset. So we'll say Joyce Transportation. Let's say I have Joyce Transportation and I own a fleet of trucks. I don't want to do, come on, Light. I don't want to do business with the same LLC that owns the trucks. So let's just say same scenario. My driver falls asleep, kills someone. They sue me for $2 million. I only have $1 million insurance policy. They can now take my assets or the trucks because I was doing business with the same entity that owned the asset. So what you want to do, if you don't want to put it in an irrevocable trust and you want to still touch it, you can form a holding company. A holding company will be an LLC that's used just to hold the assets. It's not going to do any business with the outside world, so it won't get sued. You'll have your operating LLC and your holding company. So same scenario. Trucking company, transportation company, driver falls asleep, kills someone, $2 million judgment, $1 million life insurance, $1 million insurance policy. You'll lose whatever the operating LLC has, but you'll still keep your assets. There will be a lease agreement between these two entities, and every single month, the operating LLC will pay the holding company a lease fee to be able to use the asset, okay? So you can do this for your business assets, for your personal assets. So a holding company is another vehicle that you can use to own your assets or to hold your assets, to separate them from the LLC that can be sued. That's how you're going to protect your assets. So once again, there'll be one LLC that owns the assets, another LLC that's doing business. This will be the same for, do I have my little real estate example? Bam. If you have real estate, we don't want to rent to the tenant with the same LLC that owns the property, because if they slip and fall and break their neck, then they're going to be suing the entity that has the assets. So one has the assets, one does business with the public. So it'll look like this. You have your holding company and then your different LLCs, whichever one is using whatever assets. It could be a car, it can be a house, it can be expensive equipment, it can be your trademarks, your copyrights, whatever are your assets. You don't want to own them at the entity level that's doing business. You want to have want to have them in a holding company. You can only have one holding company own them all, and then you'll lease them out to the different entities. Parent companies. Now, a parent company is going to be a company that owns other businesses or other subsidiaries, okay? So if you own multiple LLCs, you can either own them just separately, so LLC number one, so I have trucking, I have transportation, I have catering, or you can have one company own all three. Well, why would I want to have one company own all three? Well, some people feel like it's just simpler, right? I have one company that's going to own all of my entities. But what you need to understand is that this whole structure has to hold, meaning they all need to have an LLC. The LLC needs to be active. They got to have their operating agreement. They got to have their bank account. There can't be any kind of commingling, because if any of the baby LLCs get sued, then they're going to what's called pierce the corporate veil. If the corporate formalities are not followed, then they can come up here to the mama company or the parent company. So you want to make sure, if you want this parent subsidiary structure, that we're following the corporate formalities, or we're running it like Walmart, so that the liability stays here. Another reason why a person may have a parent company is if they want to have an S-Corp. They don't want to pay all these taxes. They want to run the income from their three businesses to one entity and get paid off there. So let's just say I have Joyce Catering, I have Joyce Lashes, I have Joyce Transportation. Separately, I may not make enough money to be an S-Corp. If I combine the income of all three businesses, I do. So what you can do is, you can, whatever are the profits at the end of the month from each entity, you can move those up to your parent company via a management fee, and then you have your parent company be the S-Corp, and you just take one salary. So you don't have to get a salary from, LLC number one, LLC number two, LLC number three. You can just take one salary. whatever you want to do, you can do. Or let's just say you're trying to get funding, right? Maybe the income of the separate LLCs don't qualify for the loan, but if I combine the income together, then it would qualify for the loan. So same thing, move your profits up to your parent company, and then you would apply for funding via your parent company. Or maybe you have a high risk industry, right? So maybe I have a transportation company, I got a car rental company, and I got a construction company. All of those are going to be high risk. I can run all the profits of all those businesses to one general low risk parent company and now go get funding off this parent company. The income's coming in from the subsidiaries, and I go with that parent company and go and get funding. So those would be different reasons as to why people would have a parent company with subsidiaries. I would always recommend that the parent company, since it's not actually doing business, it's just holding the businesses and then doing the funding. You want to have those in an anonymous state just so, no one knows all what you got going on. Then if you are self-funding your business, so you're having to put money into your business, either you're starting your business, sometimes, payroll is short, you got to buy inventory, you may have to put money into your business. You want to make sure that you're legally putting your money in. So if you put money into your business, it may be deemed as income by your CPA and accountant, and we don't want that. So there are two forms that you need, or two agreements. One's going to be a capital contribution agreement. Let's just say I have a catering company. I need to buy some equipment. I need $10,000. I don't have that currently in the business bank account. So I'm going to move some money from my personal account and put it in my business bank account to be able to purchase the equipment that I need. At the end of the year, I have a total amount of income that came in as $100,000, but 90 of that is true income. The other 10 came from my personal account to the business. If I'm putting that $10,000 in, I'm saying I'm just putting it in. I don't need to be paid back. I'm going to notate that contribution or that money invested on a capital contribution agreement. If I'm saying I'll put the money in, but once the LLC starts making money, I want to get my money back, you're going to put that on an LLC loan agreement. Either way you spin it, you want to take those agreements and give them to your CPA. So at the end of the year, when he sees $100,000 came into the account, but he sees your loan agreement, your capital contribution agreement, he knows, but only 90 is income. 10 just came from her putting money in the business. So if you're ever having to put money into your business, you want to make sure that you're not going to be paying a tax on money you're moving from one account to the next. So you want to make sure that you notate those funds on either a capital contribution agreement or an LLC loan agreement. Bam. Okay. Let's see. Stop sharing. So, am I answering questions or we're out of time?
We can answer probably two questions. I'm gonna pull up two VIP members to do some Q&A. If you got a little time to do a Q&A, Joy, we can pull up a couple really fast. Not too many. So this is what we're gonna do. Everybody that has a VIP ticket, or you have a VIP and you have a VIP banner. Wait, y'all pull her at? Pull her back up. Where'd Joy go? Hold on. All right, and you got if you got a VIP banner and a VIP ticket, I'll allow them to ask questions first. So, if you have a VIP banner and a VIP ticket to the mastermind, raise your virtual hand, and we'll pull you guys up to answer a few people questions really quick. So Karen, you're first. Let's Karen, what's up, Karen? I ain't know this was Karen. What's going on? You been learning?
Yes, I have. I've always been hopping in on you. I've been in just incognito, but I'm still learning from you a year later.
That's good. It's good to see you in here. What question you got?
Yeah. So on the foreign LLC, my question is, can you have multiple foreign LLCs on one LLC? Example, I live in Oregon. There's no taxes here. My LLC is in Nevada, but let's say I found a credit union in Washington that's going to give me a loan. Can I have multiple foreign LLCs on one?
Yes.
Perfect.
And we're going to get into, Joy gave y'all some good game today on the foreign entities. I'm going to double dip on that when I talk about a funding company, how we're going to be able to maximize how we give people access to 5 times the funding that we would if you were to get one round, how to be able to 5x that amount for your funding clients and yourself. But we're going to get into that tomorrow, but good question.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, VIP members with a VIP banner. Jermaine, what's going on, my guy? Unmute real quick.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we hear you.
Cool. What's up, man? Appreciate it. Thank you, Joel, for your time tonight. The quick question. I was slightly confused when you were talking about the holding company and then the parent company. So they sound similar, but I think you were trying to emphasize some differences. Can you kind of highlight the difference between like the holding company and the parent company structure?
Okay, so one's going to own assets and one's going to own businesses.
Okay. Yeah.
So some people call a holding company some people use a holding company as a parent company. Like that word is used interchangeably. So I separate because you don't want assets held with any kind of structure that's doing business. So even if you did have a parent company with subsidiaries, I would have my holding company separate, not even linked to all that, because that's like your little treasure chest. I don't want no one knowing about my assets over here. I want to keep them protected, tucked away. So if you want to call your company that owns the other businesses a holding company, that's fine. But in my examples, the holding company owns assets, a parent company owns businesses, very similar.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So I have more like a parent than an actual holding. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Devon, what's going on, my guy? How you feeling, my guy?
Hey, good night, Joy.
Hi.
What's up? Hi. All right, so my question was that I'm Jamaican, and I'm on a H-2B visa where I work seasonally in Colorado. So I wanted to know if I was able to still get myself a LLC and how I would go about, getting the structure regarding to getting a parent company, because I have like 3 businesses that's like 3 separate, I'd say, type. So physical and online type stuff.
Okay. So you have to do you have a social or you have an ITIN or no?
All right, so I do have a social, but it's for tax purposes only.
You have is it a social or ITIN?
It's a social.
Okay. So as long as you have a social or ITIN, you can get an EIN for the business. But you're going to have to mail it. You're going to have to mail your application into the IRS. It's going to take a little longer.
Okay. All right, so it's still possible.
Yes.
And would you advise to get, since we got the social through the company, I'm not sure if it's like only be able.
Oh, hold on. You didn't apply with the IRS to get No.
So what happened was that the company that I work for Save a Tree, right? So they were the one who actually had me come here, and they're the ones who did the paperwork and got that social for me.
Okay. Then what you want to do, you want to get an ITIN number, an individual tax identification number with the IRS. It's going to be like a packet you got to submit with like documentation of where you're coming from, all this information, pictures, passports, and then the IRS will give you an ITIN or ITIN number. That's going to be like your social for the IRS to be able to file your tax return here in the U.S.
Okay. Okay, I got you. All right, thanks, Joy.
You're welcome.
Good question, my guy. Great question. Evelyn, what's up? What's going on? I got on.
Thank you.
Yep.
So I have a question in regards to LLC. I have an LLC, but when I went to go do it, I don't remember exactly what it was. It was basically structuring, because I was a single member when I first set it up, and it was making it like a sole proprietor as a single member. So now I amended it for a multi-level. Would that have been the right thing to do?
Okay, so entities are formed at the state level, but they're taxed at the federal level. So the IRS taxes single member LLCs as a sole proprietor for tax purposes, not for entity or asset protection. So for tax purposes, a single member LLC is taxed as a sole proprietor, meaning you're going to file your business income on your personal tax return. It's going to be on a Schedule C. Actually, girl, hold on. Do y'all see my screen or no?
Nah, not yet. You still a co-host, right? You still should be a co-host, yeah.
Do you see it now or no?
Nope, not yet.
How come I can't get myself together? Hold on. Bam, here we go. Okay, you see it now? Okay.
Yep.
Bam. Okay, so the IRS looks at LLCs for tax purposes as a sole proprietor, just for tax purposes, meaning how they're going to tax you. So your business, you're going to file your business on your personal tax return. So a personal tax return form is called a 1040, and you're going to put your business on a Schedule C or a profit and loss. The Schedule C is going to be filed with your personal tax return. So you're filing one tax return because you're a single member LLC. Now, if you are a multi-member LLC, then you're going to file what's called a partnership tax return. So the business files its own return. A business return is going to be due 30 days before the personal. So if you file on time, it's due March 15th. If you file with an extension, it's due September 15th. So the business files a 1065 or a partnership return. You will get what's called a K1. It's kind of like a 1099 of whatever were the profits or the losses, depending on what your percentage of ownership is. So if me and you own a business 50-50 and we made $100,000, your K1 would say $50,000 and my K1 would say $50,000. You'll take this K1 and file it on your personal tax return. If you are an S-Corp, the S-Corp files a separate tax return or 1120S. You'll get a K1, and that K1 is filed on your personal tax return. Okay, so if you only have one member of the LLC, only one person, then you're going to be taxed as a sole proprietor for tax reasons. Changing it to multi-member and you only have a single member LLC that's not what you want to do. You're actually costing yourself more money because now you got to pay for a business return and your personal return.
Good questions. Hey, y'all. Hey, these are some good questions. That's those type of questions I'm supposed to answer to get asked. All right, but we only gonna pray for 3 people today. We're gonna have to end the presentation after that because it's already 9:10. So man, everybody in the chat right now, y'all drop some fire emojis for Joy. Come on here, blessing y'all with her presentation and her 14, 15 years of knowledge. I'm right on the years, something like that. We always appreciate you coming and blessing us. You already know. Anything else you want to leave with the group before you leave? Anything else you want to leave them with?
Hey, y'all, I don't know what God told y'all was what your enterprise was going to be, whether you're going to be a 6, 7, 8, 9 figure business, but every multi-million, every multi-billion dollar business starts small. It starts in dorm rooms. It starts in garages. It starts in apartments. Okay. It's not how you start. It's how you finish. So number one, you're in the room. You're in the room to get the knowledge. The next part is taking action. So whatever you have to do to take action, whatever sacrifice you have to make, go ahead and knock it out so that you can start 2025 as your best year. That's what I would say.
Well,